Okay, so in this video, I want to go over why being thirsty and showing a girl interest can actually be really attractive. Okay, now I just want you to understand this as like a transference of energy. Okay, because that's what interest is. It's a type of heat, an emotional heat, like a thirst, right? I want you. You're so sexy. I think you're so beautiful. Strong eye contact. This gravitational pull, this proximity, this hunger, your dick is getting hard, and you just want her, right? You want to take her. And then on the woman's end, it's her pussy gets wet and she wants to, kind of just melt into you and to just allow you to come into her, right? It's this beckoning. And then on the male end, it's this like driving force. Okay, now they obviously work together. Okay, just like the dick goes in the pussy very naturally, your heat and her heat are going to naturally meld together. Okay, now there have to be certain conditions that are met, right? And when these conditions are not met, this is when people say, oh yeah, he's thirsty, he wants her so bad and she's not interested. Or guys in the dating industry or the red pill say, oh yeah, girls don't like thirsty men, you're a simp and blah 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 blah. But the problem with this is it oversimplifies the idea of showing interest bad, not showing interest good, and misses the fact that showing a girl a lot of interest is actually really, really attractive. Women love when men are lustful. Women love when a man gives her strong interest. He's very handsy. He's very affectionate. You can see it on like the sweet kind of side, like kisses, soft, gentle, or on the hard side, right? Hard cock. He's bending her over. He's fucking her hard, right? There's different wavelengths of this hunger, of this thirst, of this desire, right? But of course, it has to be in context. Okay, so I want to give one example to explain to you how important it is so you understand on the positive side. But then, of course, I'm going to do the part where I say, hey, this doesn't mean just go out and just, show a lot of interest to girls, even if they're not interested, because that's creepy, that's wrong, right? That's going to be the second part, okay? The first part, I just want to talk about the positive aspects of showing interest and why it can make you a better boyfriend, it can make you a better husband, or if you're still in the dating process, it makes you better at attracting women in general, okay? So here's the positive aspect on it. Think about a relationship or a marriage where these people are actually in love, okay? Your wife is generally, unless she's really not in the mood, right, is going to like when the husband walks up behind her in the kitchen, kisses her on the cheek, wraps his arms around her, tells her how beautiful she is. She turns around, starts kissing him, and then, he starts to get more handsy and he starts grabbing her ass, grabbing her waist, right? He reaches down and, and starts fingering her pussy. She starts getting turned on. He turns her around, picks her up, puts her on the fucking countertop, rips down her pants, sticks his cock into her, and then they just, have a bunch of fun in the kitchen, right? That's the shit that romance novels are made of. Women love that. The husband waking up in the middle of the night, just horny as fuck, leans over, kisses her on the cheek. She wakes up and goes, baby, I just woke up. I want to fuck you so bad. She goes, okay, give me a moment to wake up, right? He kisses her. She starts kissing back, right? And then they just go at it. I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship with someone who you really are attracted to and they're really attracted to you, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, okay? Well, there's proof right there that attraction, your desire, can actually create desire in her. There you go. That's all the proof that you need to understand that desire can create desire in another person. So why is it only limited to a relationship, right? Obviously, unless you're an absolute fucking retard, right? I'm not saying just walk up to random people and kiss them, okay? What I'm saying is that energy working in that context, well, it can clearly work in other contexts. There are people who just meet each other and after an hour are having sex, right? I've done it in that amount of time and even less, okay? And if you've had experience with girls, you've also experienced that where you get with a girl very, very quickly. Now, Some people are under the impression that, oh, it's just natural. And then, it was just all the pieces kind of fell together. And, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. No, there is a large amount of free will and choice and skill involved in the art of seduction. Okay. The proof is in the pussy. There are some men who get more pussy than others. And it's not only based on looks, right? So it's based on having an attractive personality. An attractive face and body helps as well, but also the skill to know when you should show that interest. Okay. So now let's go over we have to understand the context, the negative side of it to make sure that we don't go to the other extreme where, you just have this idea where you're going to go out and I know you're not stupid and you're not just going to go out and, showing a super lot of interest to girls, but on a more gentle level, you might just, think, okay, I just need to go out and tell girls I'm attracted to them and just show a lot of interest and they're going to reciprocate it. Well, that's taking it to the other extreme. Okay. So let's go over the context of this. Okay. So there's 3 general contexts, right? Conditions, let's say, that need to be satisfied before you can kind of start taking that, that lever of interest and go, okay, I'm going to start showing more interest. Okay. The first one is very simple, right? There has to be at least some base level of attraction. She has to, let's say you're this ball of heat. She has to at least be somewhat in proximity to you for that heat to transfer. Okay. It has to be at least be right touching or touching, right? If she's over here, meaning she's not interested in you at all, then no amount of heat that you can generate is going to somehow attract her and make her go, ooh, I want to suck his dick, right? So if she has no base level of attraction, you walk up to her and you say, hey, excuse me. And she's like, oh, sorry. You walking up and going, hey, baby, what's up? That's not going to help either. Okay. There has to be something there for it to be working a little bit. There are some ways around a girl not having base attraction, mostly pre-selection. Basically, she sees that other girls desire you, so she goes, okay, well, maybe I need to reevaluate this. Or there's some situation where maybe she wouldn't naturally be attracted to you, but then she goes to her dance class and you're a dance instructor and she really likes this type of dance and she likes that you're good at it and you're also in an authority position. Okay. That might, be enough to make her go, okay, I normally wouldn't be into this kind of guy, but I am in this case, right? But outside of that, if a girl doesn't have that base level of attraction, showing interest or not showing interest really doesn't matter. But that's an interesting distinction. If she's over here, you not showing interest doesn't matter. But also you showing interest doesn't really matter. She's cold either way. Well, that's very interesting to know when we're dealing with what we call cold approach, right? Walking up to a girl that you don't even know and getting to know her, right? Well, you're going to have to, at some point, when you have no information, because you can't always have a situation where you get a sign of interest from her and then you react to that. You can, and that improves your chances, but that's not always readily available, okay? She doesn't walk past you. You're not in the situation, right? You see her just walking across the street. You can't just walk up in front of her and go, okay, I'm going to wait for an approach invitation. You just have to go for it, right? Well, when you walk up to her and give her a compliment, which you should, because you got to give some sort of context and show her why you're there, what your intentions are. Well, you're showing interest. You're generating heat. Well, you have to in this situation because there isn't a context where you're just magically in front of her. You have to put yourself in front of her. So actually, showing interest in this situation can help because it brings her in proximity to make that choice of whether or not she wants to stick around and go away. Sticking around being, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Going away being, oh, sorry, I have a boyfriend. But of course, in that context, the other 2 conditions arise. Showing just enough, right? Not too little, not too much. And then doing it at the right time. At the beginning is just the beginning, right? But then as the conversation develops, hey, excuse me, I thought you were really cute. Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. Okay, we got some interest there. Then you got to know how to calibrate it, show interest here, don't show interest here. It takes a little bit of skill, right? I spent a lot of time learning how to do it. And you can go out and learn how to do it naturally on your own, but you can kind of cut ahead of the line if you just follow what I teach. Now, this is where I market, right? I have a course that teaches you how to do that, right? how to, if you want to learn how to tell when girls are interested, because maybe you don't know, I have a full list on it. There's a video, but there's also like a little cheat sheet where you can kind of just like look for this, look for this, look for this. Generally, that means she's interested. But also I have a list of signs that she's generally not interested, okay? But then what to actually say to her, and then how to show that interest when you first walk up, right? How do I show this heat, right? This passion that she'll reciprocate? How do I show it in a very cool, natural way, in an organic way that feels sincere? Well, I go over how to do that, how to have a basic conversation. It doesn't have to be super deep, right? You're going to talk for 3 to 5 minutes, okay? It's going to be a very, very normal, superficial conversation, but a lot is going to be communicated non-verbally in that, and I teach you how to do that. And then I teach you how to ask her out, right? Because that's very important. You have to actually ask her out to see her again. You don't just have a good conversation and all of a sudden she's your girlfriend. You have to ask her out, and then you have to leave a good impression. You have to make a good impression that first couple seconds talking to her, but also leave a good impression, because if you don't leave the good impression, you may have started well, but then the end feels awkward and off, and she ends up not texting you back. That happens a lot with guys who were like, oh, she was really into it. Why didn't she text me back? It's probably because you messed up the end part, okay? So I teach you how to do both parts correctly. So there's a course, Meet Girls Everywhere. It's in the description below on my website, HectorCastilloDating.com. Also, then you have to text her afterwards. Very important. You can't get away with being a bad texter in these days. It's just, I tried at some point, then I decided I have to learn texting, and it helped my results a lot. And me teaching guys how to text has also helped a lot of their results. So I have a texting book called What She Really Means, the basics and not so basics of texting girls. It's on Amazon. It's also in the description below. Okay. So marketing over. Give me your money. I'll give you wisdom in return so you can get girls, right? But aside from that, right, how do you take that heat that you have, that passion, okay, and in the actual interaction with her, let's say you're at, a party, right? You're not going to walk up and cold approach her. You could still, but maybe it's a little bit smoother to be introduced to her. And then how do I show enough, but not too much, right? That's what we call game, right? Being able to calibrate the other two conditions. The first being she's giving you a chance. The other two being just enough, right? And at the right time. Amount, time, timing, volume. You get those correctly once you have that first condition to actually get the ball rolling. And then you're going to be generating heat with her, and you show interest, she shows more interest, you show interest, boom, 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 boom. And then you actually escalate, right, to the point where she's ready to fuck a lot quicker than you would if you were kind of playing this slow game, right? And even the guys who, they're maybe not self-aware enough to understand the principles of seduction, they just go, yeah, I play it kind of cool and da-da-da. They don't see that they actually non-verbally show girls a lot of interest. They just say, oh, I don't really like compliment her or thirst after her with my words, right? But what they don't know, because I've watched these kind of guys and how they seduce, and I've done it myself where I'm not like showing too much interest verbally, although most of the time I was, because that's just my style. But I've experienced it and seen the guys who are more nonverbal, and they're showing interest just non-verbally, right? So the guy's kind of playing too cool. She kind of shows interest. He reciprocates and a little bit more. And he even just like touches her, right? But that touch can show a lot of interest. And then it goes like this, like this, like this, like this. And then what do you know? The girl's like super, super horny. It all came from the fact that each person was kind of trumping the other when it came to showing interest. Now, one person might jump really hard and like be really thirsty. That might actually work if the other person was open to that. They just hadn't yet felt comfortable enough to jump to that level, right? So sometimes being risky, like saying something risky or sending that risky text, right? Where personally, I would be a guy who really shows a lot of sexual interest. So I'd give girls very, very direct compliments, be like, you're really fucking sexy. I'd even tell them I want to have sex with them. It was really risky, right? But I'd jump here instead of like taking it slow. And then she'd go, okay, I'm actually attracted to you on that level. I just haven't shown it yet. Boom, right? Now, how did I know that it was the right amount at that time? Well, you can't guess 100% of the time. That's not what this video is saying. You have to be able to predict the future. No, that's fucking retarded, okay? for the most part, for most guys, I wouldn't teach you to do things how I do it, but I just understand the principles, and that's enough. I can teach any type of personality. What I would say is you got to take a risk, show more interest, try and go for a touch. You're going to start light, touch in safe places, and, don't be too aggressive, show her more interest, right? It could just be you look at her a little bit more, right? You just give her a little bit, or should I look up here or into the camera? Let's say in the camera, right? You just look at her a little bit more than you usually would, and you kind of smile, then you look away, right? And you break the tension a little bit. Normally, you're kind of looking a little bit, look away, look here, but now you're going to try and show a little bit more, and you kind of look at her a little bit more mischievously, or you check her out very obviously, like that could be enough for that to be like a jump. And then she sees you check her out, and she kind of like, okay, boom. Now she's matching you, and it's this game of constantly wanting up each other until you get to the point where you're ready to fuck, right? But then you have to escalate. You actually have to take that profit and pull out of the market, okay, and not just leave your money in the market and then the stock drops, okay? So that's the timing aspect that's really important, right? Knowing how much interest to show at what time, because sometimes you're going to have this in the game, right? Because you're not going to know, oh, I should have jumped up because she was showing interest here, but then I got nervous and I didn't want to match it, right? And then she went, oh, okay. She dropped back down here. But then I try to jump it. Well, she's not ready. She just cooled off. That was bad timing. And then she's actually going to lose interest because you went in the opposite direction that you should have. Okay? I'm not saying you should have pulled away interest. No. Just hold it. Very, very, very different. A lot of these guys think, oh, I need to hold interest or I need to pull back interest. No. You just hold interest. Okay. The only time you want to actually pull it down is when she starts sinking a lot. Then you go, okay, we were at this vibe. We're like, we're talking, we're showing, we're smiling and laughing and we're all over each other. And then something changed and she dropped down. Definitely don't double down and show more interest. That's bad. Unless you're in a situation where she's feeling auto-rejected. But most of the time, you still don't want to show too much interest. You want to pull back and kind of figure out, you might have disrespected her. You might have said something. You might have been too much of a fuckboy. It can get complicated, right? But if she pulls down, then you have to go, okay, you hold it. You don't see her warming up. Okay, you got to pull back. Pull back your interest, kind of lean back. Don't show her so much. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you see your vibe change. You're a little bit more formal, a little bit more distanced, right? You don't want to chase after her, okay? And then maybe, you let the energy kind of simmer at that level, and then you make a move, kind of let some awkward silence happen, right? Don't feel a need to fill the silence. You don't feel a need to try and reignite, because guys will see the attraction drop and they immediately want to fix it. No. Remember, it's the volume, but also the timing. So you hold it back, okay? But then at some point, you got to either take that risk or wait for her to like make a jump. And then you build it back up, build it back up, build it back up. Then once it's up here, what you need to do is take it higher, or if it's high enough, cut it, invite her home, right? Or go for the kiss, right? And try and lock it in that place and then move it to the next level. After too many guys, you're playing it too safe. You're gonna have to at some point take a fucking risk, okay? You're gonna have to show a lot of interest. And generally, if you're a guy who you don't often invite girls home, if you don't have a high lay count, for the most part, your biggest problem is actually not showing enough interest. But a lot of these guys in these dating industry, or these, in this dating industry, they're trying to tell you, oh, don't be Mr. Nice Guy. No, they're actually teaching you the opposite of what you should work on. What they think is where they failed is wrong. They just didn't read their situations correctly. They thought because they showed girls interest. It's like, yeah, in some cases you were just a thirsty, needy little fucktwit, right? But for a lot of situations, actually, it wasn't that you were showing too much interest. It's that you weren't showing the right kind of interest. You weren't being sexual with it, right? You were just talking to her. Bro, try and fuck her. Girls like that shit, okay? That's what this video is about. Girls love when you have hunger. Just like I said, in the relationship, right? Girls like when their man is hungry. So why wouldn't they like it in a situation where you're starting to get to know each other, right? Are there people who meet and fuck really quickly? Yeah. It's not just whores and sluts and easy people who do that. It's girls who are very conservative and have high standards. But if they meet a guy who knows that women like when men are hungry, they can actually feel comfortable to let that side of them show. But all these guys are trying so hard to, not show interest because they don't want to offend her or they don't want to, look creepy. Bro, as long as you keep these three things in mind, she at least has some base level of interest, okay? But I'm assuming most of you are not retarded and you're going after girls who are clearly not interested in you, right? So the main two principles or conditions that you should be thinking about are, I need to show enough. I need to show some for the most part, but just enough, or maybe even a little bit more, and at the right time. It's actually the timing that most people suck at. It's not even the amount of interest, because as you've seen from my talk, you can actually show a lot of interest to girls. And you can get away with it. My entire seduction style is talking to a girl, and then at some point, I let her know I want to fuck her. Like, sometimes out of the fucking blue. Like, it was almost like autistic. I was like, I didn't know how to seduce girls, so I'm just, like, talking to them. I can tell they're interested, and I'm like, you want to get out of here? You want to fuck? And it was that crude and stupid in the beginning. And, of course, I got reactions like, whoa, that was so random. But then I kept doing it. And despite their, like, kind of shocked reactions, girls would actually be like, and have a dialogue with me about it and actually converse with me about it. And here I am thinking, this should on the surface, on paper, this should be really creepy and weird and girls should be slapping me. But they didn't. They had full, cool, normal conversations with me. In fact, it would surprise you how dirty these girls were, right? Why? Because I took the risk. Now, I'm not advising that you go out and do it, right? I had maybe a lot of intuition. I was able to just full send it. Okay, I'm not advising that's what you do. I'm just using that as an example that clearly showing a lot of interest somehow worked. But it was the timing. Now, once I showed that interest, I was able to have a conversation about it, and then I could gauge it based on how she's reacting. I didn't just say, hey, you want to fuck? And she's like, that's kind of forward. Oh, yeah, well, hey, you want to fuck? Like, it's not retarded, okay? I would gauge to see how she's feeling, right? So a lot of this really also depends on your ability to read people's emotions, okay? If you're not good at reading people's emotions, then you have to take it slow. But also at the same time, guys, you're going to have to take a chance at some point. And I just mean that verbally, okay? I'm not meaning it, just start touching girls. I'm not saying do anything like that. Again, you shouldn't be retarded, right? Some of you need to have fucking common sense. That doesn't need to be said for like 99% of you, but there's 1% out there who's going to be weird or interpret what I'm saying as being weird, but they're also retarded, right? They're in that 1%. Anyways, so you're going to have to be taking that risk. The only times that I've experienced when showing interest really goes wrong outside of just you're creepy and showing too much is two very specific scenarios. One, you're clearly a fuckboy and you're only interested in sex, right? There's nothing wrong with being a fuckboy who's interested in sex. Listen to my sentence very, very, very specifically, or very, very closely. There's a difference between a fuckboy who only wants sex and a fuckboy who's very interested in sex. A fuckboy who only wants sex doesn't see the person that he's trying to seduce. And he's either really stupid and low IQ about it, like he just doesn't have a conversation with her, and she's like, okay, clearly you're socially retarded, right? Or she can see through your games, okay? And that's usually when you start to not get what you want. You meet some reservations, and then you kind of just like either give up completely and just go, like, hey, you want to get out of here? And she's like, I don't know. And you're like, okay, whatever. Okay. Clearly you just wanted sex, only sex, right? But there's a big difference between that and a guy who really wants sex. I mean, we all really want sex. I was really horny with girls, but I also cared about getting to know them. I actually liked being around girls. Yes. Was sex one of my primary or possibly even number one motivation? Yes. And I did not hide that. Okay. I was very open about it. It was either very explicitly clear or it was very implied because you can tell by my energy I'm very sexual. But I also wanted to get to know her too. It was very clear I wanted to get to know her. Okay? It was evident in the way I spoke to her. I was asking good questions. I was a good conversationalist. I listened, right? I wasn't just asking questions and thinking, okay, when can we get to the dick sucking? Like, I was clearly interested in getting to know her. Okay. So if you do that, you're not going to have to worry about this extreme where you're this fuckboy who only wants sex. And what happens is you're going to know you're getting this reaction because she's going to get cold and angry or arrogant. That's the sign that you've tripped like that wire. Okay. Because when a girl's you're just showing too much interest, she usually gets uncomfortable and like, ugh, disgusted. But if you're seeing anger or arrogance or cold anger, like she just shuts off, that's, you've went into fuckboy territory. The other extreme, which is just like the opposite side of the same coin, is when she suspects that you are a fuckboy who's only interested in sex, but you're pretending to be a boyfriend. You're kind of playing that guy. That's the fuckboy girls really, really hate, because it's actually a lot harder for girls to tell the difference, because that guy might wait around for weeks or months. He'll play the slow game. That's the guy that women really, really hate. When girls complain about fuckboys, that's the one. And I'll make a whole video on that, because there's some guys out there in this industry who actually play that game, and it's not seduction. You're just pretending to be her boyfriend. Okay. But that's the other time where if you're showing a lot of interest, she might just again, anger, cold anger. That's when you know when she feels as if she's been disrespected. That's the only time we're showing a lot of interest is a negative, right? Other than that, in my experience, showing a lot of interest to girls is very attractive, right? Girls want lust. They want to feel lust. They want to feel comfortable sharing that lust with you. And it's just this circular, reciprocal, self-feeding, just clusterfuck of fun and pleasure. Okay? It's very hot, and the hotter you make it, the hotter she'll give it back to you. Okay? And as long as you feel like she's giving you that base level of attraction, and then you're just careful about the timing and how much, just keep escalating, because that's the nature of every courtship. But once you understand that principle, you can have free will, and you can actually push it faster and farther than most guys are, because they're letting these principles control them, rather than us, who are self-aware of how these principles work and go, okay, I'm going to show more interest, then I'm going to show more, and then I'm going to show more, then I'm going to show more, then I'm going to show more. And you move fast. Then you have sex with girls on the first date or the second date or the third date, not waiting weeks and months and blah, 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 blah. We are seducers. We are lovers. And that is a skill set that takes time, and it takes awareness, and it also takes empathy and watching her body language and how she's reacting to you, okay? It's not just a one-person show. It's a two-person show. It's a tango. It's two people. Okay? Always keep that in mind. But never lose sight of the fact that women love lust. They want men who are hungry and are thirsty. But with all of the guidelines that I've already way over-explained. But the principle I want you to know is be lustful, be hungry, be passionate, be thirsty. You give women that thirst, and they will give you back this thirst. Okay? A horny man will attract horny women. So be more horny. Okay? Hector Castillo. Check everything out in the description below. You give me money, and I will give you wisdom in return. Or this way. You give me money, and I'll give you wisdom. And with that wisdom, you can go out and you can have the dating life that you want, because you take control rather than being controlled by it. Okay? See you guys soon. I love you. Ciao.